Hello, everyone. This is Tina from Content Creators Club. I'm so excited to kind of do this deep dive on our next newsletter issue and really just go ahead and get into this. But before I do, make sure you grab the freebie in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you are getting this from my newsletter, make sure to check out the offer below this video as well. But with that being said, let's kind of go ahead and get into today's topic where we're talking a little bit about how more than 80% of my revenue comes from email and why that's not a coincidence. And so, if you are someone who is thinking about email, thinking about implementing it as a source of you to actually generate sales, then I've been testing this kind of concept for the past, year, I would say. And so, yeah, let's kind of walk through it. So, I want to bring you back to this beginning of like feeling guilty for writing another email. It just kind of seems weird now looking back at it. But you kind of run through these what if scenarios. Like, what if people unsubscribe? What if people thought that I was salesy? What if people thought that I cared more about giving sales than value? Like, I just want to be very clear, like, none of this stuff is true. Any what if scenario is probably a scenario that's not likely going to happen, right? And so you always kind of like walk this fine line as a creator where, part of you knows that you should be selling more, but also this other part of you where it's like, well, I don't want to sell because then I'm worried if I turn off my audience. And so you kind of have to figure out how do you create this balance between, selling versus giving value and kind of having magic in the middle. And so the thing that I want you to know is that like it's definitely a magic. It's definitely like a way for you to do it. And so I'm going to walk through a little bit how that looks like for me and my emails, but like the thing I would say is that like since I've done email marketing, like my income truthfully has grown by 2 to 3 times since the start of this year. And it really is not a coincidence that it's grown that much because I've also emailed my audience like 2 to 3 times at least per week, right? And so, the thing that I think is really important to like realize here is that like your email list truly holds your most valued audience, right? And so, let's just think about this here, right? Like anyone who signs up to your email list voluntarily raised their hand and said, "Hey, like I want to get more of, your corner of the internet. I want to get more information from you," right? Like that is truthfully like your warmest set of audience. And so it makes sense that my email list is where I get majority of my sales from because this is the warmest pool of audience that I'm actually gaining from, right? And I want you to think of this from a layer of like you have a cold, warm, and then hot lead, right? So I would say like anyone who follows you is on social media is a warm-ish lead, right? Because it depends on like how often the algorithm like shows your content to your audience. But anyone who's on like your list would be, I would say, like warm to hot or hot leads because they voluntarily signed up, right? And they want to hear from you. And so because they want to hear from you, right? It is a disservice to not speak to them, right? It's a disservice to speak more to the people who are not on your email list, like on social media, for example, than the people who are on your email list, right? So I would say, like, for me, like, anyone who's on my email list is the first one who gets this video, for example, first, who gets this email, this content first before any of my social media platforms. Like, anyone who's on the list gets this content first, right? And they also get like exclusive offers, exclusive bonuses, sometimes around discounts on some products. Like, these people who are on my list, for example, you are watching this video, if you're watching this from the newsletter, like you get it first. And that is because like I value your time and I value the fact that like you were one of those people who raised your hand and said, "Hey, yeah, I want to know a little bit more about Tina." So that's how it should be, right? And so the second most important audience that you should nurture is your social media audience. But even then, so like I would say like social media is not as reliable as it was like years ago because the algorithm is not favoring your content, or it's really not favoring creators in general. It's really favoring people to just stay on the platform rather than, reward the creators that actually help the platform have the people stay on their platform. So anyways, that's a different topic for a different day. But the thing is that like stop treating social media as your primary source of buyers because they're not. And your primary source of buyers is the people on your email list because they are the ones who raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want to know more about you," right? And so the reason why I want you to think a little bit about why I think email is a little bit more important than social media. I think it's important when it comes to selling because asking for a sale on social media is a big commitment, especially if they do not know who you are and if if they're just finding you through an algorithm, right? Like think about it from a perspective of like, hey, you're at a conference or whatever and you just meet a person, don't know this person at all. Maybe they're interested in the same things, but you just say, hey, you want to buy my product? Like that is a very big commitment for someone who you do not know, right? Versus if you went to a conference and you met one of your subscribers who has been following your content for years, and then you spoke to them and you're like, hey, I think this offer would be good for you, like they're more likely inclined to say yes because they've already built a relationship with you, they've already had a journey with you, right? And so in order for you to build that relationship, you need to really think about what are the commitments in order to get there, right? So social media is that first micro commitment is reading your content. The second micro commitment is following you on the platform, right? The third micro commitment might be a comment here and there, or it could be joining your email list. And then the fourth micro commitment is opening your email, right? And then the fifth micro commitment is clicking a link. And then the sixth micro commitment is probably buying your offer, right? So I want you to see like how many micro commitments need to take in place before you even get the sale, right? And so like the thing is like if you want to establish a relationship with your audience, you need to kind of build those micro commitments first up, right? And when you build those micro commitments, you have a really great brand, you have a really great, all these other things that like basically gives value to your audience, then it makes it easier for you to go for the sale, right? And so like 80% of my revenue does come from my email because anyone who's on my email list has had all those micro commits prior. So I know that I'm only talking to the individuals and I'm only really selling to the individuals who have gone through those micro commitment process, right? And so when it comes to building a relationship with email, right? Because you do need to build that relationship. It's not just like a person joins your email list and then you can automatically sell, right? Like you do need those micro commitments. Remember the open, the clicks, all these different actions, right? I would say what's really great is to establish ascending frequency, right? People like to know when you show up, right? So if you're dropping your kids off at school, like you want to know what time you need to show up, right? So same thing when it comes to your email, like you need to know like or your audience needs to know when you're going to show up, right? And the second thing is like this is kind of great when we're talking about micro commitments is ask for an action, right? An action could be simple as give me a reply. A reply is actually really great because it really signifies send or signals to the email provider that that person is great and you want to hear more content from them. So I would always say like go for a reply, especially early on. Definitely helps you from like an email perspective. Or it could just be click a link, fill out a survey, fill out this poll. Things like that just to get those again, those you want to go for the micro commitments, you want to go for the actions, things like that. And then the third thing, which I think is like kind of it's I would honestly say it's the most important piece is like get your audience used to hearing about your offers. It should not be a big deal when you ask for money. Like I don't think it should be a big deal if you don't think it's a big deal, right? If you don't think it's a big deal, your audience is not going to think it's a big deal, right? And the way that you kind of I would say prep your audience to be okay with hearing about your offers is like in that first welcome email, right? In that first welcome email, make sure you say, hey, I'm also going to be promoting my offers. And obviously, like it's an exchange, right? I give you value and I also get the opportunity to introduce a way for you to work with me, right? Or to support my small business, things like that, right? And so, like, the thing is like, the more upfront and transparent you are with your audience, I definitely feel like your audience appreciates that more. It's not like a situation where it's like a bait and switch. It's like, no, I'm going to let you know from early on, like, what are the expectations and what are the things that you should know, right? If you want to see an example of that, like, join my email list and you'll get my welcome email and you'll see like how that is. And then if you stay on my email list, you might get a freebie where I can give you a free welcome email template. Just putting that out there. So that's a benefit for you to join Content Creators Club. And so the thing is again, like if you don't want to sound salesy, don't be scared to ask for the sale. It doesn't need to be a big deal if you don't make it a big deal, right? And so the thing that I want you to know is that at the end of the day is like when people give you money, they're rewarding you for the value that you give. Like I just got an email this morning, I was asking her like why did she, buy my club membership, and she's like it was just truly just such a great offer and I just thought it was such a great, thing for me, right? That is value. That is something that I created for this individual where it made perfect sense for her to go ahead and buy, and now she's a member to our club membership, right? And so the thing is if you know that you're providing value, money should not be a problem. So I'm going to ask you, feel free to comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or send me an email reply like what's holding you back from selling with email. I'd love to know those details because it helps me, and then maybe I can create a video or content piece answering directly what you need help with, right? And so, with that being said, that is our video. But I also want to let you know that in 5 days, I'm releasing our next collaborations email to all our club members. So if you want to be on the list of people who I send that email out to, you're definitely going to want to make sure you sign up and secure founding members pricing for our club membership. I also am giving a bonus, an annual bonus, as in like anyone who signs up for an annual membership, they're going to get my self-liquidating opt-in strategy. So if you are someone who doesn't have an audience or doesn't have an offer yet, but you want to figure out how to make money with your audience by giving something to your audience for free, then this revenue stream and this strategy has added an extra $1,000 a year to my content business. And anyone who signs up for an annual membership, I will send it to you on the 12th or July 12th, 2024. So, with that being said, I will see you or sorry, it's going to be August 12th. I need to change that. But anyways, I will see you in the next video. Bye.